features, and I'm just pushing the EstateView over here. Oops, where did you go, EstateView? Come here. All right. And Mason's going to show you what it looks like backstage at the programming area. We've got about 20 attendees here. If you have any questions, I'll be looking for your questions and looking forward to answering your questions. I want to thank all of you. I see Stuart, you're often here. Paul, great to talk to you. Neil, you're often here. Judith, often here. John, you're not getting sick of us yet? So, you know, you're all friends, colleagues, and we've appreciated the opportunity to help you with EstateView. EstateView is on the Amazon cloud, and the geniusness of this is that EstateView pushes the program onto your computer. So your computer is not reaching into EstateView. EstateView is reaching the program into your computer, and that's very important. That means that we do not receive any of the data. When you type in the client's name, the client's the value of their house, the discount rate you're using, none of that data goes onto the Amazon cloud. The Amazon cloud will not accept that data. So EstateView takes advantage of that when you, and that's the reason that you should save your inputs, especially with the instant plan, because we don't have your data. We don't even want your data. And I'm sure you understand why that is. Mason, did I describe that correctly?
Yeah.
So that's a very nice thing. The second thing is that we're working now on adding AI to our calculators so that you'll be able to run the calculation and then ask AI to write a better explanation letter, or ask AI why, you know, what could I do different to make this a better situation for the clients? But also with our AI, and again, the Amazon cloud and how the AI companies work, do not permit what you do on EstateView AI to go out of your computer. And that's why the AI is slow, because it happens just one portion at a time. Mason, can you explain that any better than I just did?
No, I can't.
But somehow Mason and the other programmers explain to the AI that you follow the EstateView protocol. So we have viewed dozens, if not hundreds, of trusts on EstateView. We've looked at what the AI would be inclined to do. We're using the same AI that ChatGPT 4.0 uses, but we have 20 pages of protocols. You can't have much more than 20 pages, so it's more like poetry. You have to be very efficient, but it will follow the protocols, and we'll be talking a little bit about that. So when you open EstateView, and I'll go ahead and get a round cursor here for you. When you open EstateView, you have the choices of a button here for each program, and on the left-hand side, you have the ability to click on account. And when you click on account, you can click on customization. And when you click on customization, you can put in your own disclaimer form. EstateView has a standard disclaimer form, but if your firm, your law firm, or your registered investment advisory firm prefers a different disclaimer form, you can just copy and paste it right in there. And then you can put in your logo. So this will be, so that your logo, along with EstateView's logo, will show up on PowerPoints and other things. So there is an instructional video, and we have instructional videos almost everywhere with EstateView. When you click the instructional video, it's interesting because one of our Indian programmers comes on the instructional video and shows you how to use these features. In addition, please don't forget that we welcome your chat. Other people may not, but we do. It is public. The chat becomes public. And if you put in a question here, any question it becomes an email that goes to 4 lawyers at the Gassman, Crotty, Denicolo law firm, and Brittany, our administrator, and a couple of other people. And we try to answer these pretty quickly, because if it's a question that you have, we want to have that answered. Sometimes you're spotting something in the software that's a little bit confusing. Sometimes you're asking how things work. That gives us the ability to go back into the software and fix some things. And I'll show you something that we just fixed today. So here I'll just say, keep up the good work, Peter. And I'll click that. And I've just interrupted Peter Farrell's weekend, which I enjoy doing. All right. So I need to add a home button here, I think, Mason. There's no home button, and there's no place like home. So that's the chat. And then the news, we really need your ideas on what RSS feeds you would like for us to have. We're able to use any free RSS feed. And Mason, if you can remind me, I'd like to call Bloomberg Tax and see if they would allow us to put their feed in here. And what you do here is you just click, and then you pick your feed. I think an ABA feed would be good too, and probably pretty interesting the way things are going with the ABA right now. And there's a lot of U.S. government feeds as well. But Reuters Tax, and then I can also choose to see summaries. So when I click on summaries, something is summarizing these. I don't know if it's AI or if it comes from the RSS. And then if you want to read this at night to not wake up your spouse, you can switch to the dark mode. And then you got the ticker tape across the bottom. Have you ever actually seen a ticker tape, Mason, where it comes out of a machine like a little piece of paper? That's how they operated in the 1960s and 70s. You would go to Merrill Lynch and you would sit in the lobby, and this paper would come out, and everybody would read this paper, and it would give you the latest prices on the stock market. Because there was no internet, there was no way to do this. It came on like a phone line, similar to the telegraph. All right, so this needs a home button too, but I will click back there. And now I'll go home. There's no place like home. And I'll start off with the AI document. Well, first I'm going to show you, Mason, something that's not working exactly right yet, and that is the life insurance organizer. The life insurance organizer is the person male or female, and smoking or non-smoking. And when you tell it smoking or non-smoking and the date of birth, it gives you a life expectancy. And this comes from a real life expectancy table. It's not the table 2010, which kills everybody off sooner. This is a real indicative life expectancy table. And then married or not married. And if married, whose policy is this? Is it a second to die policy, or is it on one person's life? And then you enter in, is it a term policy or is it a permanent policy? And you just put the data in. And you need this data. And Mason, we have to make sure that this data is identical to the data that goes into Instant Plan and is identical to the data that goes into the Married Couple Comprehensive. Right now it's not identical, but it will be. And then you enter the policy. Now, the policy's in there, but I want to put in a second policy. So I click on duplicate, and now I put in my second policy. So my second policy may be on the other spouse, and the other spouse has a date of birth, and I could just put her name here. We'll call her Mary Smith, and we'll call her age 30, and she's female, and she's not a smoker. She's got a 55-year life expectancy. I like that. And anyway, she may have a term policy instead of a permanent policy. And we put that information in. And then maybe she's got two policies that are very similar. Maybe she has two policies that are identical. A lot of times that happens. So then when we click to see results, now I have, and you can hardly see it, but now I have a nice spreadsheet which basically summarizes his policies, her policies, seconded I policies, subtotals, and then it's going to give me some reminders. And these reminders, which I can show you here, and this also exports to Excel. Just about everything we have exports to Excel. But where's my scroll bar? Anyway, well, let me go ahead and export this to Excel. Need a scroll bar there. But the Excel spreadsheet gives me the data. So then this can go into other areas, which we'll show you. And also, it's going to remind me of some things, like, does the client want disclosure of the real cost? Do you want to talk about what the policy costs? This is a term policy. Schedule the replacement of this policy. And then it's in an irrevocable trust. Make sure you're sending crummy withdrawal powers. And this one's not an irrevocable trust. Warn the client about estate tax exposure. So that's just going to be a handy dandy calculator. That's called the Life Insurance Policy Organizer. Now I'm going to go to AI Document Review, and very soon, well, in about a month, maybe, or sooner, we're going to allow you to also review a lease agreement, an employment agreement, a LLC operating agreement that is not necessarily a buy-sell agreement, and powers of attorney. So that'll be nice. Now, when you get to our AI, one thing our AI has that I have not seen anywhere else is a speed adjustment. So when you get to AI, if you want the fastest speed, you click there. It's going to have the least analysis, but the analysis is still robust. If you want the most extensive analysis, you go there. We actually pay the AI company. We get a bill from them every day for sometimes $3, sometimes $30 for everybody's use. And eventually we may meter it. But at this point, we're not metering it. And David, you're probably using 2/3 of it. I hope you are. So now I choose one kind of document or the other, and I choose trust, and then I choose to try the sample document, and then I have a number of sample documents here that we've used, and I'll just click on a husband's revocable trust with amendments. So you put in the document with the amendments, and then it took a little bit of while to chunk it. And Mason, can you describe what that means, that it's when it chunks the document?
I haven't worked much on the AI, so
I
no.
stopped the panel. So when you chunk a document, because the Amazon cloud is not going to share this document with AI in the outside world, the Amazon cloud, I think, goes through and chunks the document into portions of the document. And then for each function, it goes through and looks at those portions, and it can only see so many words at a time. And that's called a chunk. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask it initially for a client summary and drafting recommendations. Now, typically what I do is I check all the boxes and I ask for everything, but that can take a few minutes. So now it is going through those chunks, and it's picking the words and sentences from the document that will help it do the analysis. And then it's separately doing the analysis on my computer. So that did not take that long. So here's a summary of the John client living trust. And this just tells me some nice things about it. So when I go in and read the trust, and by the way, I do not rely upon these summaries. I use them as checklists, but I do not rely on the summaries themselves. But here's the recommendations. We always say, does it allow decanting or not? And if it does or doesn't, do you want to do it the other way? What are the charitable provisions? What are the restrictions on charity? I like a document that allows charity, but I also like a document that limits charity because people don't want their children to give everything in the trust to a cult. So we always ask about the anti-cult restrictions. Then the different funding mechanisms, whether it's using fractional or pecuniary, reminding that if you use pecuniary, it may cause attacks. We always recommend a pour over will savings clause that says this trust is also an amendment to my last will and testament to make darn sure that my last will and testament pours into this trust. And if it doesn't, this is an amendment to cause that. Substance abuse, etc. So these are the recommendations. So now what's neat is I can say, please draft an amendment to this trust and a letter explaining it. And I don't have to spell right, explaining it to the client to make all of the above changes and make Illinois law apply after they move to Illinois, and add a pet trust for Trigger the horse who talks. When he talks loud, he will not get as many carrots. All right, so then I click on that. Mason, have you ever heard of Trigger?
Trigger?
Trigger was a famous, who can help me? I think Trigger was a famous horse. You've heard of Lassie the dog, right?
Of course.
Okay, how about Rin Tin Tin? Have you heard of Rin Tin Tin?
Is Rin Tin Tin Tintin's dog?
I don't know. But on the sign right now, our sign says something like Rin Tin Tin, the Rin Tin Tin tree has no bark. All right, so here is the proposed amendment. It comes right out, and it has the pet trust for Trigger the horse, and it will terminate on Trigger's death. That will be the trigger. And it says he will receive fewer carrots when he talks loudly. And then there's a cover letter. Now, it forgot to make all the other recommended changes. So please rewrite. See, it's just like a child, to make all recommended changes. You silly computer. All right. So the other thing I'll point out while we scramble to make this not boring is when it does something, for example, it gave me the recommendations for improvements here. It permits me to look at the source language. So the source language, I'm sorry, I was just gonna, so when I click on source language, it's giving me the language that it chunked out of the document in order to answer the question. Now, initially we had a setting where you always saw all the chunked language, but that got kind of monotonous. Okay, so now let's see. So there's the new trust amendment. It's pretty scant. It's not all that thorough. And there's the cover letter. So I could adjust the speed. And now I can ask for the slowest speed. Please rewrite the letter and the amendment with more detail and make it rhyme. Now that may take a while, but that's what it's doing. While it's doing that, because I'm out of jokes, I'll show you some buttons here. The scenario wizard allows you to go in and say, what if this? What if that? What if somebody died? What if they don't die? What if you want them to die, but they don't die? Okay. Then it says, please note that while adding more detail may improve clarity and effectiveness, transforming legal documents into rhyme may affect their precision and would lead to ambiguities. Legal documents typically require clear, direct language. Once I have the documents, I will proceed to revise them accordingly. I recommend focusing, okay, so say, okay, I agree. Please do it. Please do it already. So now I've had an argument with my computer. That's artificial intelligence. Then the clause generator allows you to have the AI provide a clause that you would add to the trust. Okay. Please provide the text of the letter in the amendment you would like for me to revise. Okay, well, it's obviously confused. All right, analysis tools allows you to select various analyses. View document allows you to review the document in whole that you're looking at. Clear analysis allows you to erase and then print. Now, I agree, Kevin's next task, which we discussed this morning, is to save the analysis so I don't have to copy and paste it into an email and convert the analysis to Word. Also, we're about 80% of the way to having a red line feature so that you'll be able to see the document actually be changed by red line, but we haven't gotten to that yet. We are working on it. Okay, so now I'm going to take questions. And thank you, David. He says it works. That's why I use it so much. It was able to gobble up and spit out a Steve Ocean's Megatrust into understandable content. Well, I love Steve Ocean's Megatrust. It has so much great language. That's very neat. Identifying ambiguities is helpful. I thought I was the only one who can't type. Thank goodness for spell check. Roy Rogers, Roy Rogers' horse was Trigger. That's great. Leona Helmsley left her dog $3 million in a pet trust. That's correct. That's great trivia. Kevin, what would you recommend to a financial advisors for best practices in serving as a bridge and bringing FA's clients' needs to lawyers? For example, should FAs do as much EstateView analysis as they can on their own and then bring the client and the EstateView documents to the lawyer? Absolutely. That works really, really well. I think a financial advisor should do as much as you can do. In my opinion, you should use the AI to draft the clause to what you as a financial advisor think works. Cross the top. This is only a sample. I know nothing. I'm only a financial advisor. I don't have legal malpractice insurance, but this makes sense to me. And it came from EstateView's AI. That's exactly what I do. You're going to save people a lot of time and a lot of money. And quite candidly, it's beyond time and money. It's like, are they going to have an estate plan or not? And if I can get them to have an estate plan, that can be a remarkable difference than no estate plan. So absolutely use estate plan any way that you think it can help you. So Mason, anything that you want to add, subtract, multiply, or divide as a physics major as to EstateView and the AI?
I would say, I mean, I think we all know that AI is pretty incredible and that it's like the big new technology of our day. And like any new tool, it's important to learn how to use it. And if you go on, say, ChatGPT, you'll be able to learn, and as you use it more and more, you'll get better at knowing what to say to get it to give you what you want. And the same thing applies here. If you use it more, you'll get better. The responses you get back will also be better.
Right, right. Okay, so as opposed to waiting for the last response and letting computer get the last word in. I'm going to click on home. And now at home, I'm going to go to Instant Plan. Now, we've been spending a lot of time on Instant Plan, and it's been quite meticulous for all of us. So Instant Plan started, Mason, because I wanted people to have a shortcut to entering information into our calculators, and I wanted there to be more uniformity and easier use. So when you go to calculator only intake form and you added page by page or scroll through the whole thing, but I'll go to page by page, get started, and now all I have to do is fill in whatever language we want from these yellow strip items. So spouse one's details, spouse two's details, and it will tell me life expectancy. Smoker, non-smoker, that'll change the life expectancy. Children and grandchildren, no parents at this time, just children and grandchildren. And then the key financial data that fuels our calculators, one IRA per spouse, up to 2 residences. We don't allow more than 2 residences right now in our calculators. Non-IRA investments. Yes, we'll need to add to this, but this gives us the basic components of the calculators. And then would you want a charitable disposition to charity and the life insurance situation? Again, we're going to want to make sure that these inputs are consistent with the life insurance organizer we just looked at, Mason. And then do they want to add some life insurance? So these are possible life insurance rates, rough estimates based upon surveys and things like that. So you can at least show them what it will look like if they add 1 or 2 or 3 or more life insurance policies. And then assumptions. So now, what's my estate tax rate? That may go to 0 in a few weeks, everybody. That'll be different. Then we'll definitely have to add the state calculators in, and those are going to happen this year for sure. Then gift tax rate, that's not going away. That's going to still be there. Inflation rate, chained inflation rate, and in particular, does the exemption drop by 50% in 2026? Not so much. We thought it was going to. Now the exemption may go to infinity. Then do you want a credit shelter trust? Do you want a CUPERT? Do you want life insurance? Do you want large gift? Within a month, we will have an AI option. You'll click AI, show me what may work best, and then the AI will probably prioritize installment sale first. And if that doesn't whip the estate tax, then it'll convert part of the installment sale to a large gift. If that doesn't whip the estate tax, then it will go to CUPERT. It will assume irrevocable life insurance trust planning if that is to their advantage. If they live to their life expectancy, the AI will be able to do that as well. Or that may be the analog programming. And after that, it will show you what happens if you also do annual gifting, because I'm not relying on annual gifting because so many clients don't actually do it. It looks great, but they don't actually do it. So this is going to be a somewhat analog programming, somewhat AI. I expect that within a month because Kevin's getting, oh, there's Marcia. Hey, hon, I'm doing the webinar right now, so I'll call you back after it's over. No problem. Bye-bye. Okay, Marcia says hello to everybody. Sorry that I didn't turn off my phone. I'll do that now. All right. So when I click on results, it's much faster now because it does the calculations when you get there. So it will give you the family tree, and it will give you the calendar. So you have everybody's information, and it will give you the RMDs. And Mason, I just want to think about how this can all be exported to a Word document. So the user at this point you can scroll all this and you can print it and see it all together. But I think it'd be better if it came out as multiple Word documents with a table of contents, right? I think that I think that'll be coming. So then now I look at what I did, and do I like it? Do I not like it? You know, maybe I would like, once I look at it, and in particular for most of our users, I think you're either looking at the retirement results. If they're not estate taxable, do they have enough to retire under the Nest calculator, and what's their cash flow timeline? And yes, they got a smiley face, they're in good shape. Or you're looking at the estate tax. So with the estate tax, you're going to go to Married Comprehensive and see, did this plan conquer the estate tax, or did it over conquer the estate tax? By the way, we've added rolling grats, but did it conquer the estate tax? Almost, not quite. Maybe I'd like to do something different. So I can go back to assumptions, and under assumptions, I can say, well, I put $1 million into the rolling grats. What if I put 2.5 million into the rolling grats? And what if I can take a discount because of blockage or because of transferability issues? What if I could take a 3% discount there? And I'll do more on the installment sale. I'll go to 50% of investments under a discounted LLC installment sale. Click results again. Go back to Married Comprehensive. Come down. And where am I now? With a bigger installment sale, now 0 estate tax. So maybe this is what I may show the client. And now, of course, I can go up and I can save all this data to the calculators. I can select all the calculators and I can add it as the next example, or I can override what the calculators now have. I'm going to put overwrite. Should that be overwrite or override? Probably override, I'm thinking. As long as we're dealing with trigger the horse, I think writing is better than writing. So then I click on save. And now I can go back home. There's no place like home. And I can go to married couples. Click on married couples. There they are. And now I can go into more depth, of course. So it's a deeper dive. I can change a lot more things. We haven't changed anything significant on the married couple calculator except to add the rolling grat. But now we're well below the estate tax exemption. You know, Mason, I think we should add the timeline to the instant plan, because this timeline shows that they're still going to have estate tax, but the estate tax exposure is going to be gone before the first death. But that might be a place to add life insurance, or we can show them that if they die early, that much is going to go into the charitable lead annuity trust, the purple part. So that's the instant plan with the calculators. Now, what I think is more useful, and more of our subscribers are starting to use it and enjoying it, is, oh, I got some suggestions here. Let's see what we got here. David, thank you. Yes, fantastic having state estate tax built in. It's not there yet, but we are. And I'm having to learn all about the state estate tax planning, which I'm enjoying. Helen says, please demonstrate downloading a file from your computer for AI. Mason, will you be able to do that? Or right now, I just copy and paste it into an email. Is that the only way to do it right now? Oh, I see. She wants to know downloading a file. In other words, downloading a trust. So we'll go back and do that before we're done. And then, yeah, David says hello to Marcia. Integrate retirement in-out with the Monte Carlo. Yeah. Linear returns are misleading. I agree. Label it replace existing. That's good. Replace existing. I like that best. But trigger the horse. I don't know. All right. You mean replace the horse or replace existing? That's better. All right. So now I want to go to a full intake form. And right now our clients are filling out fillable PDFs or Word documents. Now, Mason, one thing we need to provide our subscribers is a fillable PDF where the client fills out the PDF and then the user can input that language from the PDF into EstateView. So that's another thing on the task list. If you could finish that by tonight, I would really appreciate it. But now, oh, and let me go back. We're trying to put everything known to humankind into the instant view. You may want a simpler approach. So if you want a simpler approach, you go to Customize Intake Form, click Get Started, and then you can go every single page and say, yeah, I like the pet page. I don't like the pet page. Let's customize the pet page. And then I don't mind getting their pet's name. I really don't care which species it is. I don't care about its age. I'm not going to send their pet a birthday card unless it gets a $3 million trust, and I don't need special instructions. So that would be how you would customize. All right, so oops, I hit the wrong place. Go back. But we're going to go with a full intake form, page by page. And now you're going to put in everything you want. Now, the biggest request I had, which you guys satisfied, was if you miss something, it just goes forward. You can still go to the next page. You don't have to spend half your life figuring out which field you left blank. It'll just base what it has on what you have. And one of the things that the asset list is really coming along very nicely when you go to the optional asset information. Now, these assets that are not yellow are not in the calculator. So the calculator is asking, the yellow fields are asking you for total investments, and they're not going to account, they're not going to even include your car and your boat and things like that. Eventually, we will have multiple classes of assets, but right now we don't. But at least now we can have different bank accounts, different brokerage accounts, and we can say who owns it. We can have the different kinds of cars. We can see what they owe on their credit card bill. We can see their personal use real estate. That'll automatically come in from the earlier page. We can see their mortgages, their land vehicles, and all this stuff. And it's working out pretty well. And we can even see where they park their airplane. We can see where they park their boat. We can see the size of their boat. We can talk about their jewelry, their wine collection, their art, their foreign assets, their community property assets. And this is going to make it easier for the client because they can just skip over this or put it in, and it's going to make it less likely that the client will forget to give us good information or that we'll forget to get good information. The college funding page still looks pretty good. It's coming along. If I've got 60,000 saved for Sarah, she's going to go public out-of-state school. I think she'll go to get a master's degree after that at a private school. So based on her age, rates of return, and tuition, I need to put aside $99,702.81 right now, and then that should pay for that education. But if she decides to go to a private medical school, I'm really out of luck. Then I need $259,818. So, I mean, 20 cents. Don't forget the 20 cents. So that comes in. And now, again, I can click results. And one of the things I really like at this point is points of discussion. This is coming along. And what it does is we have red flags. I'll go to the bottom. And we have a lot of red flags that get caught. You know, when she turns 18, make sure she gets a power of attorney. This kid's driving your car. Do you really want this kid driving your car? Let him use somebody else's car. Who signed up that child for their driver's license? You're responsible till you're 18. Hey, you got a terrier, do you know that a lot of insurance carriers won't cover a terrier? Are you sure you're covered? And you've got a 22-foot boat. The umbrella doesn't cover that unless you have a separate umbrella. Do you think you have enough life insurance, et cetera, et cetera? And it does a letter now. So now it says, Dear Mr. and Mrs. Myers, hope you're doing well. And here's some things that we think you need to deal with, and here's who needs to deal with them. This is for you to do. This is for your financial advisor to do. This is for your CPA to do. And this is all just a computerized letter. It's not AI, not at this point, and it's not yet showing the advisor uh, interaction. It's not yet showing the checklist, but all of that is being worked on. And this is really important because when I sit with a client and I say, you know, your hair looks terrible, you need a new hairdresser, you don't want to forget afterwards to which hairdresser you are recommended. And you know, anything like that that anyone would like to see in the EstateView, let me know, because the more thorough the better. We're trying to help new professionals and old professionals like me do the best job possible. So if this letter is already written, I have less pressure. If I'm billing by the hour, then I can hand them this letter and not have to dictate it on my way home in the car. And maybe I might forget or not forget to ask them whether they have a Dalmatian or whether they have silencers in their gun collection that need to be in a gun trust. This is automatically coming out now. The other thing that we're working on that's going to get better is the litigation risk assessment. You know, just asking a client if they want to think about litigation risk is important because most clients know someone who had trust and will litigation. And I can educate them by asking them questions, and the questions can clue me in on whether there's a high chance that they might have litigation. I mean, it's mainly just about getting them to think about what would cause the litigation and also what might reduce the risk of the litigation. So once they answer these questions, before we talk about risk reduction, I can go down and we're going to have this more up there. They have a medium chance of estate litigation, but if they'll have a psychologist or psychiatrist present when they sign, that might help. Can we do a videotaped conversation that would have a good outcome? Not for a confused client, but for a clearly unconfused client? And will there be a safety latch committee that will not allow amendment of the trust unless a couple of trusted people or a couple of neurologists sign off on it? Should we have that? And then that's going to bring our risk still down to medium. What do we need to do to get it down to low? Couple other things. So, you know, this might be a fun thing to do. We're also going to add a questionnaire for, would you like to answer the questions that your property and casualty insurance agent might want to have the answers to? And then if the client answers those things, I'll have more information about their risks and I'll be able to share that with their agent or an independent agent to get a second opinion. So there's lots of possibilities here. But here's what you're going to like best. And this is new and I'm very proud of it. And this is Mason's doing. Mason did most of the work on that. And that is, once I have all that information, I can click on generate planning chart. Everybody put your seatbelts on. And would you like to see this married couple with no trusts or LLCs and the homestead is owned jointly? Or would you like to see them with a joint trust that owns the homestead and the investments? Or would you like to see them with a joint trust where the homestead is outside of the joint trust, because that's how we do it in Florida normally? Or would you like to see them with separate revocable trusts? And then I click that. Now we're going to have about 20 choices by the time we're done. But right now we have these 4 choices. And then that just started my spreadsheet. I click on that. I'm waiting for the spreadsheet to open. Where did that silly spreadsheet go? It's around here somewhere. Oh, there it is. It's on my screen number 3. And now what do I have? I have a customized Excel document. I can enable editing. And we have an architectural printer in our office, 2 of them, as a matter of fact, in case one breaks. So this will be a 3-foot by 2-foot chart on my conference room table, and I'll take my notes on this chart. Otherwise, if this is a Zoom call, I'm going to show them this chart during the Zoom call, and I'm going to take this chart from left to right, and I'm going to type my notes right onto this chart. That's what I do. The clients watch it. They see how terrible of a typist I am. Thank you, David, for pointing that out. And what does this tell me? Well, it tells me the client's name. So when I forget the client's name during the meeting, I can glance at the chart. It tells me the date of birth and their profession. It tells me their insurance information if they gave us insurance information. It tells me their IRAs, if they have 3 to 5 IRAs, it enumerates all of them, tells me where they're at and what the value is, gives me the same life insurance information, gives me his asset, account, and liability information, and gives me a summary of all of his, all of hers, what's in the trust, what's not in the trust, what's joint, and what's a total value. That's pretty good, Mason. That took, what, 4 weeks, 5 weeks?
I think maybe 2 or 3 weeks.
Amazing. You've done
Sure
really
was.
well. So then there's their advisors with phone numbers and email addresses, and there's their other contact information. And then what it's not showing, Mason, is all the companies across the bottom. I think that's not yet in the main version. It hasn't been
It
uploaded
is
yet.
in it. It's just that in our sample data, we only have one company, so it's right
Okay.
there. It's sort of
Okay.
just
But it's
glitched
going to
in
be
Excel,
circle,
but
needs to be an oval, but it'll show their companies all
it
the way.
is an oval. It's just Excel kind of glitches out
Okay.
sometimes. That's
All
all
right.
it is.
Yeah.
If you let me screen share, I put
Yep.
in a bunch of companies onto the sample data.
Oh, okay. Brittany, can you remind me how to screen share?
Adding them now.
Marcia says I have trouble sharing. And by the way, we'll end this within 10 minutes, or I'll be late to see The Lion King in Tampa today with my granddaughter, Nicole, age 6, who will explain it to me afterwards.
Can you see the site here?
Yep.
Okay, so I added, looks like 5 companies. Go to the page. I can generate a chart. Oh, I'm on single mode. Hold on.
He's single, everyone, if you know somebody.
So we can
He's
select
employed.
which version we want. I'll go with this one, for example. Downloads here. And now I zoom out. You can see we add the companies down
Wow.
across the bottom there.
That's fantastic. I can't tell you how much labor it takes right now for us to manually draw all these circles. So now our secretaries can start with this, which is great. Before I forget, I want the grandchildren, each grandchild, to come underneath their child, so I can say, oh, your son John has 3 children.
Okay.
So we'll have to definitely do that. But this is coming along beautifully. So do you want to show them the other spreadsheet
The single chart or the Excel spreadsheet?
the Excel spreadsheet?
Sure. So we also have this other Excel option. Right now we have 3 different sheets that get downloaded. If I open this up, we get a just financial summary here of all their assets that they give us.
That's valuable to a client to have.
If I click here, we can see these circles are proportional to the share of their net worth that's in each asset category. So, for example, the investments outside of the IRA are the largest category, and we show it now and also upon retirement.
Now, why is there a line? Oh, there it goes. Okay.
Yeah, it's just an Excel glitch visual. You can see they change based on how many years there is going to be until the client retires, and all the values update based off the growth rates that they include. That's what we got.
And then now the next thing, something else on the list would be for this to be a full formal style personal financial statement that they could give to their lender after they carefully review it, because we have all the data for that now also, right?
That's right. We're going to be adding that soon.
Right. Mason, do you want to take us backstage and show us what the programming language looks like? I think we've covered all
Sure.
I think we've covered all the new features pretty much, right?
If you
So
want.
show
So
us.
this is the page that describes how that planning chart is created. So you can see here all the lines of code, and if I scroll down, a lot of it's collapsed. You can see if I click here, it opens everything up. And yeah, to create that chart is 4,762 lines of code. It's
Now,
all right here.
did you type all this code in, or do you use artificial intelligence to write the code, or did you get
It's
it from
mostly typed all
Crayon?
in. A lot of it's copy pasted. So for example, this whole section here, these add the shapes. So this one is rectangle, ellipse, line, and the rounded rectangle. You can see this is 300 lines of code-ish here. I can expand these all, but they're very similar. So once you make one, you kind of copy and paste it and change it. But mostly, if I go, let's see, I'll open up the section that adds all the advisors, and it just sort of loops through all the data that we have and adds them with the same format for each one.
And
So
then,
you can see here,
yeah.
advisor.name, advisor.phone, advisor.email. This is pulling from that advisor's name, phone, and email. Then it moves on to the next advisor. It's their name, phone, email, etc.
And how old were you when you first coded?
I was in high school, so I was probably around 14 or 15.
And is it fun? Is there a game, or how would I get my 7-year-old granddaughter to start learning how to code?
There are I think games online that you can do that introduce sort of a simpler version than what we're doing here is a bit more complicated, but they're pretty simple versions. Probably playing with Legos, getting a kid to just think about things. It's very logical. So if you can think logically very well, then I don't think it's very hard to learn how to code.
And you graduated from school and you started programming with us, what, 12 or 14 weeks ago?
At the end of January. So
Yeah.
yeah,
How is your speed now compared to your speed in the second week?
it's definitely faster. I had a lot of catching up, but I'm
And
pretty quick now.
do you think you want to do this for a living, or are you going straight back to physics?
I enjoy this a lot, like every day. I don't know, it's fun to me.
Yeah, that's
Do it.
fantastic. That's
I do
fantastic.
I do like physics though. I saw David Rosenthal asked if I'd explain the measurement issue in quantum mechanics. If you
Yeah.
want me to go on that, I can, but it's not much related to estate planning.
All right, let's ask. First, we'll answer the other questions. And okay, label it replace existing. Yep, I got that. A majority of clients and prospects are busy professionals and do not like to complete questionnaires. Do you? Well, I don't, but Marcia does like to complete questionnaires. But let's say we much rather have a discovery conversation to gather what is needed. I agree. I think the best approach is to say, here's our intake form. If you'd like to fill it out, we'll be able to give you better and more efficient service. Otherwise, we're glad to talk to you as well. We find that most clients do fill out the intake form, but the nice thing about this is you need all this information in your life, and most clients, even when they're billionaires, don't actually know everything they own and where it is. So it's a good exercise, that's for sure. And then David sends them a list of topics. I love this. Oxygen mask just dropped as I was clicking my seatbelt. So I'll share with everybody about 2 to 3 times a week. I say to a client, remember when you're on the airplane and they say when the mask comes down, take yourself first? That's what you need to do in life as well. You got to stop worrying so much about XYZ and get everything, get your platform together so you can take care of XYZ. So I even have some of those oxygen masks in my credenza, and I hand it to the client and say, take this home so that you understand. Okay, David uses, do I charge by the minute or the inch? Perfect. Okay, David uses Mind Manager to create something similar. So we'll have to look into Mind Manager, Mason. And he includes a picture of the family. We do add pictures of the family from the internet if they're dressed. Okay, mindmanager.com integrates with Excel. Okay. Thanks for telling me to enjoy The Lion King. Okay, so we're going to close with something very, very important, and that is Mason explaining, what is it?
The measurement issue.
Yeah. Okay, explain the measurement issue.
So quantum mechanics is essentially a theory which has a lot of evidence to support it, that rather than the world being made up of discrete little particles, they're more, they're half particles sort of and half waves. There's, and the measurement theory, or not the measurement problem asks the question of when essentially do they stop behaving like waves and start behaving like particles. And so there's this famous experiment. Let me see if I can pull up a picture here. Um,
This is great.
so there's a famous experiment that when particles are sent through this apparatus here, they make this pattern rather than just going straight through these holes and making two solid lines. They exhibit or what you'll get on the screen is an interference pattern that's as if you were sending a wave. Think of waves going through, like ocean waves, going through a narrow opening. When they go through the opening, they don't just go through and there's only waves here. They sort of spread out, if that makes sense, from the opening. And that's what we see happen with particles as well, like fundamental particles like photons, which are light, and electrons, which are using electricity and stuff. So, but this still happens when you send a single particle through this slit. But instead of the single particle having a wave, the single particle has a high probability of landing here, or it might be here, but you only see it in one place. So essentially, the measurement problem is at what point in space and time, whatever, does the particle sort of decide where it's going to end up? We know it can't decide before it gets here because before it gets here, it sort of has no, information about what the slit is, so it doesn't know whether it's going to be here or here or here. So essentially, the question is, when is something measured? Does the screen measure it, or do our eyes measure it? And if our eyes measure it, then why is it our eyes and not our brain? It's pretty much a philosophical question of where measurement actually happens. And it was probably a bit complicated, and it's very weird, but that's the basic overview.
Wow. Okay, well, I've got to sign off now or I'll be late to The Lion King and I'll be in trouble. But Mason, if you want, I can just turn off my camera and my microphone and you can go ahead and now explain the quantified field theory and the Schrodinger equation. Are you up to that?
I feel like I'm back in school.
By the way, if I'm traveling 100 miles an hour on a train with a lantern, does the light go 100 miles an hour faster in one direction or
No,
the other, or it's constant?
the speed of light is the same in all reference frames. So the speed of light to you on the train looks like it's going however fast it's going ahead of you. But if you're sitting next to the train and looking into the train, it also looks like it's going the same speed to you. It's 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 weird, but it's called relativity, and it's important.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna turn off my camera and my microphone and let you finish up this discussion. And then do you know how to click the box that turns off the webinar? And if there's any other questions on EstateView, you could answer those as well.
Yeah, maybe Brittany can tell me.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and you're not charging me for this, right?
Huh?
I'm just kidding you. All right. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate all your questions, comments, suggestions, and friendship, and questions about physics. And Mason's going to now answer those last two questions and then talk about the meaning of life, which is 42. And thank you so much. Thanks, Mason.
Yep. What am I supposed to answer? The Copenhagen?
Yeah, I
Versus
think
quantum
I
theory.
would make something up if you don't know the answer. That's what we learned in law school.
It's sort of, I mean, there are different interpretations